Welcome to this video tutorial for the Thymio, and here I'm working with the Thymio 2 and I'm working with a new version of Aceba Studio, which is version 1.5.2 I think it is now. So I'm going to get the software going, and you'll see that when I do that there's going to be a bit of a problem because I've not plugged my Thymio in yet, and this Thymio here is not the wireless model, so I've got to physically attach it. I think this is a micro B USB port. So let's have a look. Aceba Studio for Thymio. Yep, here we are. See, it says it can't attach. So what I'm going to have to do here first, let's see if I can do this with the dialog window open. If I plug this in. Okay, so I've got my device being installed. There we are, and it wants to be a serial connection, and it looks like it's on COM5. Let's see if that works. Yes, it does. Here we go. Now what I want to do with this particular Thymio at this point in time, I think I'm just going to do that, is I want to make it so that it's going to be a musical instrument. The first thing I'm going to do to make a musical instrument is I'm going to create an instrument which is going to be programmed using conditional formatting. So I've got the speaker here, and I've got my sensors here, my proximity sensors, and as you can see, as I move my hand closer, these proximity sensors illuminate to indicate that it's detected the presence of my hand. I want to basically make it so that as I bring my hand closer and closer and closer to the Thymio, so it starts to play a series of notes increasing in frequency. Now at this point in time, I'd like to highlight what's happening over here on the left hand side, and you can't really see an awful lot appearing, but if I go to the proximity horizontal tree structure here, these are the 6 sensors. Are there really 6 sensors? Are there really? Let's have a look here. What's going to happen with this one here? Oh, there we are. Look, that's proximity sensor number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, here we are. Look, and 5 is back. 5 is back here. That's where it is. And there's 6. Okay. Awesome. So hopefully you can see the numbers there changing. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it so that I'm going to monitor 1. I'm just going to monitor number 2 here. This is the one in the middle where my finger's pointing. And as I bring my hand closer, it kind of jumps from 0 to, here we go, no, not yet, there. Suddenly jumps up to about 1,300. Okay, 2,000. 3,000, 4,000. So I seem to have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4,000. I seem to be able to potentially have like 4 notes, and then I'll have 0 being no music. So that's my goal. Okay, now to do this, I could use VPL, Visual Programming Language, but I've been exploring the Blockly, the Google Blockly interface, which is rather exciting. So I'm going to click on this. Brings up my Blockly interface. I don't want it to fill the screen, so I'm making sure that doesn't happen. Let's just bring this down here, and I think I'm going to just bring this across. I want to try and position this so you can see my proximity sensors on the right. At the same time, there we are, you can also see the Thymio over here. Sorry, they're on the left, not the right. These are on the left, and here's the Thymio on the right. Okay, now let's have a little think how I am going to do this. So my thinking is that I'm looking for an event, and the event I'm looking for is there's going to be an update to the proximity sensors. Now, as far as I'm aware, that means that as soon as one of these proximity sensors changes value, this event triggers. So let's drop that in here. Now I've got that in place, the next question is, well, okay, a sensor's been triggered, so we want to look specifically at sensor 2. So what is the value of sensor 2? So let's have a look here. What have we got in the sensors? So we've got proximity sensor closeness, but I'm looking here at this little jigsaw piece. That clearly is not going to fit in here. So I need to have a conditional statement which is going to be in the logic, and here's my conditional statement. So on one of the proximity sensors changing, I'm looking to see, look, that snaps beautifully, I'm looking to see what the proximity sensor value is for sensor 2. So here's my condition, and I'm looking to see if proximity sensor. I can't drop that straight in because I'm looking for basically a logical condition here. So let's drop that down there. What else? Yes, here we are, to see if, right, if I'm going to replace this with the proximity sensor value. If the middle proximity sensor is greater than, well, let's say 0. So let's drop that in first. Here I'm then going to drop in my proximity sensor closeness. I'm looking at my front middle, and now I could say, is it greater than 0? But there may be a bit of a fluctuation in here. Who's to say that suddenly something, shadow changes or something in a proximity? Well, a shadow wouldn't change a proximity sensor, but there's some bizarre reading coming in. So I'm actually going to say that, is it greater than 100? Okay, so if that happens, now let's just do a test here. I'm now going to just temporarily throw in a top LED color change. There we go. Now let's run this and let's see what happens. So it's running right now on the Thymio, and if I put my hand here, now will you be able to see my hand before it changes color? I might just pull this back a little bit. There we go. Here comes my hand. Can you see my hand yet? Yes, here's my hand, and there. Turned red. Doesn't look very red on the picture here, but it is red in real life. It turned red when the sensor went clearly above 100 there, so that's absolutely perfect. Now when I tip my hand away, I'd like it to go back to normal, and no, that's not working. So let's stop it here. Let's see what I can do here. I need to add in some more conditions here to this conditional statement, and using the little gear symbol here, I can say, right, so else, okay, turn off the gear. So if it's greater than 100, the proximity sensor is greater than 100, turn on the red light. Else, now can I turn off? Yes, then else turn off the top LEDs. Let's try that. Okay, so they're off. My hand comes close. On. Off. Oh my goodness, look at that. That's awesome. Okay, liking it a lot. Stop that there. Now, yes, I can have a color change, but I actually want this to be a musical instrument. So let's see if I can now add in, I think it's in actuators. Yes, it is. Whenever I think of actuators, I think of mechanical actuators, but in the Thymio, it also classifies any kind of output as an actuator, which is quite interesting. Okay, so let me see, play sound. Here we are. Let's play a sound. So I'm going to turn the light to red and play a sound. And this is interesting. Okay, let's just leave that as it is. The sound is going to last basically 1/10 of a second. Let's see how that sounds. Here we go. Move my hand. I'm running now. Move my hand in. And away. And in. Oh, and my head's in the way there because I want to have the microphone close to the speaker. So I hope you can hear that. See the back of my head as well there. Okay, that looks pretty cool. Now, can I add in some more notes? Let's just stop this. And I'm going to have to extend the range of conditions that this conditional statement monitors. So back to the gear here. I've already got an if do something else, turn the lights off. Let's have a see. Can I drop in another else if above? That looks good. So now if this, else if that, else all off. Good, let's try that then. So what's my next else if going to be? It's going to be another logical check to see if the front middle sensor is greater than, now the range was, it was leaping straight to 1,000, wasn't it? So I think the next value's got to be, I'm going to go for 1,800. That seems like quite a logical next step. Okay, so it's this kind of pale blue. This must be in logic. Here we are. Yes, it was this one here. Drop that in. And the value I'm comparing here is on my sensor, and it's the proximity sensor, and it's the middle sensor, and I want to see if it's greater than 1,800. Now, if that is the case, let's change LEDs again. Let's set this to green, and let's put in some sound. I want this to be a higher note. So I'm going to go with 500 Hertz. Let's give that one a shot. Here we go. So run this. So here comes my hand again. I'm going to get a bit closer again so you can hear it hopefully. Okay, oh, that's with a value greater than 100 on the proximity sensor but less than 1800. And I move my hand in. Front middle is greater than, now that's interesting. It's not doing this and we need to investigate why. So let's just work this one through. Now I think it's because, yes, I can see why. It's because the first thing it's doing is it's saying, well, if proximity sensor is greater than 100, then make it red and play the sound. And of course, when I get to 1800, 1800 is also above 100. But this requirement, this condition has already been met. So basically what happens is, as soon as the value is greater than 100, it does this note and completely bypasses this condition here. It just keeps on saying, well, it's greater than 100, fine. Or I take my hand away, it's no longer greater than 100, it turns the lights off. So it's the order in which I'm doing things that's wrong. What I need to do is I need to start at the closest condition. So is it greater than, well, what's this value over here? Is it greater than 4000? Yes. Then I'm going to get, for example, a really high-pitched sound. And then I move my hand away. Is it greater than 3500, for example? So I need to change my values. Let's have a see. If I change this to, what did I say? Was it 3600? Okay, and I'm going to have that as a high note. Let's have that as a 600 Hertz. And then when I bring my hand away, above, oh, it's 4000, wasn't it? 4000, come on, type properly, enter. This is going to be 3600. Okay, and that's going to be, let's say 550. Okay, here we go. Let's try that one again now. So now nothing's going to happen for quite some way here, because my value hasn't reached at least 6,000, at least 3,600. Keep going, keep going. It still isn't there, and almost there. If I keep going above 4,000, it changes red, back down again, green, lower note. So that's looking really good. So what's left here? If I want to add some more musical notes to this, well, let's have a see. I'm going to have to add some more conditions. So it's if greater than 4000, do red this note. Else, if it's greater than 3600, make green and do this note. Else, if front middle proximity closeness is greater than, I don't know, 3000, then do a slightly lower frequency note, and so on and so on and so forth, until eventually we turn the top LED off. And that effectively has got my little musical instrument ready. So that's an example there of using conditional formats to create a musical instrument using a Thymio. Have fun making the rest of the musical instrument. Oh, and there's one other thing we can do here as well. Little extension task for you. Remember, I've got my proximity sensors over here. Well, maybe it's possible for you to make it so that you can control a certain number of notes here, but then you can bring your hand here, and for example, all the notes suddenly go up an octave, which basically is like 8 notes on the piano. So it goes, you know, from la, da, oh, I can't go that high. Anyway, you get the idea. Suddenly all the notes go boom, up an octave, and then you get a wider range of notes. Okay, just a thought. Now that's going to be done using nested conditional statements, so that's quite a bit more challenging. I will let you play and see what you can do, but there's your extension task. Okay, have fun, folks.